in three different components. Number one is whether or not you have the knowledge, expertise. That's number one. Number two is do you have the money? Do you have the resource? Which in this case, as much as we do, like here and there we have some money, it doesn't, like in order for us to fully scale up the portfolio, I usually put that capital towards the business, growing the team, rather than putting it directly into the real estate asset. Because real estate asset, the truth is, if we can gain, let's say 15-20%, is already very good. But every time we put in back into the business growth is way higher than that, right? You want to use that money towards your business to really raise even more capital, bring more resource so that you can buy more assets. That's really how the game works. Okay, so usually it's money, your expertise, and your time. Okay, and where we really want it to be is we want to be really active investors, which means we're contributing the time. Plus, because we have the expertise, so that because we fill in two of the components, now we're raising capital from people who don't want to do these two. Okay, so that's the positioning. So every time you get to in a networking event where everybody is trying to raise capital, the truth is everybody is trying to contribute their effort, their time commitment, plus their expertise. It's going to be extremely difficult for you to raise tons of money from these group of people. Yeah. Okay? Sometimes when I look at raising capital, it's like, Eric, I think you're in a very good spot, right? Because you have your, was it motorcycle, like club or something, right? If people actually know exactly what you're doing on the real estate side, and I know that it's awkward to always bring things up for work in that kind of club, but if you can figure out a way to casually let people know exactly what you're doing, these people, in order for them to be in the, by the way, what's the right term for that? It's not a bike.
What's that? The dirt biking there?
The dirt bike. Sure. Yeah. Those people they cannot be that broke to be in that club, right? So
yeah,
they all have some sort of money. They all have some sort of jobs to support that kind of hobby. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that raising capital, I think that's a really good avenue for you to kind of pitch a little bit and see who might be interested, and then kind of slowly bring into your funnel. Okay. Abby, on the other hand, you're in a security engineer, right? Or
cybersecurity. Yeah.
Cybersecurity. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of people that he's never seen before, but is making a lot of money, right? Like in terms of salary and all that, right? And usually when people make a lot of money, like in that kind of tech company, there's going to be a lot of, RSP that the employee put towards RSP, and the employer matches the portion of the RSP, which means every RSP that every dollar they put in, they actually get $2 in their funds. And as we all know, we can actually pull the RSP out. So one thing that Abby, we're going to be talking about is to figure out how to get these people into a funnel, because these people, I can guarantee you, everybody has 50, 100, 150K sitting in RSP. If you just three of them together, that's close to 500K. The number is simple. With Daniel right now, your biggest advantage is that you're so good at social media, and there's going to be a lot of people that need your service that doesn't have the time or expertise to even worry about that. But it's becoming a new channel or funnel to a lot of real estate investors, and this is where you can catch those people, right? So what I'm trying to say is that everybody has a different network, different things that you can really capitalize on. But the whole point is that if we understand our positioning is providing the time plus the expertise in real estate, everybody that's outside of this circle can be the money partner that injects the capital. Okay. It's simple. I'm sure everybody can understand that. Now, once we get over this phase where we understand where to draw the money in, now the next question is, how can we actually structure a deal in a fair way to most people? Okay. So where I wanted to talk about is that deal structuring usually goes into three different parts. One is money, because they're money partner, right? There's going to be people, and there's going to be deal. Okay. And I put deal at the last or at the very bottom because this is the foundation of everything. If you don't have a deal, it doesn't matter how much money you have, or how many people, like what kind of power team you have. There's no profit to be made. It's that simple. You need to have a deal. And deal usually means there has to be some sort of equity building, meaning we need to buy low, right? If we buy way too high, it's not a good deal. It's going to make the people that you're going to hire, it's going to make the process of hiring become way harder, because now you're squeezing the cost here and there. And then the true professional wouldn't want to work for you. Okay. The second thing is, if the deal is not good, raising capital becomes extremely difficult. People are concerned about the return. A lot of people talk about the ROI being the return of the capital. ROI, their return on their capital. More people actually care about the return of their capital. Can their capital actually be returned back to them upon upon completion of the term? Okay. Meaning, if I have 200K that I want to lend out to, for example, Eric, right? After you finish the project, can I actually get the money back, right? That would be my concern, especially if you're going to structure it. Let's say, I'm not saying you, in general, if someone wants to structure 3 to 5 years, right? Upon refund, can I actually get my money back? After refund, it's just man, that's not the total capital that you agree. There's always going to be that kind of concern. So this is extremely important. We have to be buying low, or we have to be buying a property that has a huge value add potential, where we're throwing a little bit of money, and then that equity build up becomes much, much higher. So that's number one. Number two, this comes first. Usually once you have this one, money becomes very easy to raise. It becomes just pitching, right? And pitching, there's a specific way that you want to do. You don't want to just approach people for money right away. Okay. That's kind of like, we got Chloe here. So, okay, I was just going to say, that's kind of like you go on a date with a girl, and then you're like, hey, listen, can we have sex right away? No, it doesn't work that way. You need to have multiple different sessions, right, to warm up that relationship, right, and then see if it's a good fit before you ask for anything. Okay, so raising capital, as much as it's very easy when the deal, when there's a lot of equity in the deal, you still need to be warming up this funnel for your money partner. It takes multiple sessions for people to really get to know you, your business model, your, I guess, honesty, integrity, and all that stuff, to really understand exactly what your track record is before people are willing to actually wire the money to you. Okay, so that's really important. And that also means that your structure needs to be super clear, which means you need to be able to explain all of this in a very simple way. Because investors, the truth is most of them are not the expert in real estate. So the moment that we talk about value asset or whatever, you're gonna lose them just like that. Okay, so it's really important to be able to explain in a very simple way. Now, after that is literally talking about people, right? People, us being the operator, we're filling in so many different roles. We can be the deal finder, right? We can be the project manager, right? And some people, they might be contractors, sometimes they might be wherever. So overall, we call that active investor. I'm going to just do that. And you're essentially also a coordinator, right, for all the other team members. And what that also means is that you're going to be talking to a lawyer, insurance agents, right, mortgage broker, and then after that, it's going to be contractor too, right? Even though you're a project manager, sometimes we do need to bring in trades, right? And then after that there might be a property manager, right? And if it really gets to the point where you're also managing the property, now you're building a different power team to keep the property stabilized, okay? And I even forgot that there's also agent. Okay, so it's very clear. Now, by the way, any questions so far? Easy enough?
That makes sense.
I'm going to go into a little deeper on that. So stop me if you guys have any questions. Once we get to know this, the next thing is obviously, okay, this is where things can be a little complicated. We all heard about 50-50.
What's the role of a project manager up there? Like, what does he do specifically other than a coordinator?
Sorry, say that again.
What does a project manager do different from a coordinator? Like, what does he special? Like, if coordinator is taking care of all the trades or the parties, what is project manager?
I probably should kind of bring it this way, to be honest, right? Because you're dealing with suppliers. So coordinator, I kind of make that up, but basically active investors needs to coordinate all the closing, right? You have to line things up, raise capital, and make sure that the loan to value and all that stuff, or even accountant, right? To make sure that you're always aware of the tax implication. So for the deal that you're structuring. So when I say coordinator, it's really just I made that title up. It's a word that's involved. So all the responsibility of finding deals, you're coordinating all the stuff before closing, and then there's also a project management as well. You do need to bring the people together, right? And that depends on what type of projects you deal with, okay? But this is a part where we need to explain clearly with our responsibility as an active investor, right? First of all, the deal that we're finding, why is this deal going to make money for all of us? And what's my responsibility as an active investor? There's tons of work that needs to be involved. And that's why we need 50% of active shares for there's a profit for the active investor, okay? And 50% for passive. So being able to explain all of this kind of lead to the money part, which is the split. Here's the thing. The tricky part here is the following. When we're talking about money and splits, I know like a lot of you guys already know that I'm not a big advocate for 50-50 split. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I've seen so many people having over 6, 7, 8 properties and still have to work. And the reason that they do that is because they offer 50% of the profit, and they only do they're only burring the properties, okay? Which you really don't get paid until the second refi or the exit of the project, right? So playing a long-term game, it's great that you can burn the property multiple times in let's say 2 to 3 years, which is what happened in the past 3-4 years. I don't think what happened in the past 3 to 4 years is a normal market cycle. It just shot up a little too quickly, and that's why everybody's burning. Everybody started talking about this strategy, and people got lucky, right? I think the best way to do it is that you have a multiple different strategy where some of the property that you're holding for long term because it's in a good location, the zoning might be changed. If you hold it, you guarantee make money. Versus some project, once you make money, you need to kind of cap your profit a little bit. Take some profit and put it in your pocket so that you have flexibility to do whatever you need to do with your life, basically. Okay, and the reason why I say that is because way too many investors are focusing on the door counts. Okay, including myself, by the way. At some point, I was just thinking about, hey, we need to hit X amount of doors. But then when I look at my bank account, it just keep dropping, or it's just never pick up until I actually sell the property. Okay, so that's something. Actually, I don't know about you, Eric. Did you ever feel like you're always cash poor holding the properties, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, especially before I refinanced. So like I bought them, fixed them up, and took like almost 2 years before I refinanced. So it was just like, all right, spent all my money. Now what?
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Abby, I'm sure you're feeling the same way right now, right? It's like once you cash out, you put it right back to real estate market, right? Now we have like 3-4 doors. That's already 3-4 properties. And then it's like, okay, it's a little tight.
Absolutely. $2,000 out. Like my salary just disappears the moment it comes in.
Yeah.
So Yeah,
exactly. And again, I'm still going through the same thing until I need to cash out some property, right? So that's why I always talk about mixing a bit of strategy. And house flipping just happened to be our primary strategy this year. And the reason why we talk about that is because I can catch the next upswing pretty easily. And I could never say that before, right? Before you said COVID happened, nobody knew the interest rate is going to drop like that, right? And prior to that, nobody knew that we were having that big of an issue with a housing shortage, right? But at least my parents' friends who's being in Canada, well, Brenton actually, since 1980s all the way to 2000. They say buy real estate will not make you any money because the appreciation is less than 3%, right? 1 to 2%. Like it stays at 100, 200 something for the longest time, right? And then I think after the 2008 market crash in the US, it started shifting different. So what I'm trying to say is that I think it's going to continue with this way with all the immigration coming in, but it wasn't the case. And we always need to kind of figure out exactly what is the right strategy of that specific market. And then once you pay attention to it, your strategy will kind of evolve as the time goes. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to what we're talking about here. So in terms of deal structuring, if we all know that cash flow is going to be a big issue, obviously you mix up a bit of a different type of strategy, which also means that the deal structuring will always be slightly different based on the strategy that you're looking for. I'm going to be talking about the flip specifically for as part of my example. Okay, so we kind of did. Let's say if we have an asset profitable deal here or a flip, okay. And then we already say that there's going to be a split, right? So sure. So actually I'll do active and passive. And then we call that 50-50. I think for flip, 50-50 makes sense. And then I'll use a couple different examples. So active means you're going to do deal finding, project management. And I'll talk about my favorite way to structure a deal. Okay, project management, obviously all the coordination, like we talk about, and then and sales preparation. You guys can see my screen, right? So what that means is that if you've done all of this and the profit is everybody, so active gets 25K and passive gets 25K. That's usually what that means. Okay, if you can actually bring up to 80K, there's 40K and 40K. If you're also a realtor, then you also make the commission too. So plus commission. Or if you work with that's an investor agent who's always working with you, this is where you can kind of arrange your kickback back to you. But usually with that kind of kickback, or you call that referral fee, that referral fee really shouldn't be split. Okay, that should kind of go back to active plus whatever referral you can get. Passive only gets passive. Okay. That's how it was structured. Yes.
What do you mean by the kickback when you have the agent in what, sorry?
Okay, so agents, for example, when they list your property, they get 2 to 2.5%, right? Depending on the area. Okay, so let's say if your property is selling for, let's say just $1 million, right? 2% of $1 million is 20K. Okay, that's actually quite a bit of money if you think about it. You're going to do all the work to make 40K versus the agent just sells the property in 20K and then receive 20K, right? So sometimes you might actually look at it and look at the agent and be like, hey, listen, since it's a finished product and I'm going to be the repeat clients, can we work something out, right? And they might look at it and say, okay, the first deal, I probably won't be able to cut you anything, but the second deal, I'm willing to do maybe 1%, right? Or the 50% goes back to you. And this is where you can, so this is where you can keep 10K in here and really make your effort 40 plus 10K, which means 50K in this whole flip. Okay, so that's what you can do. Eric, on the other hand, can literally just be like, hey, listen, we need to budget the commission for the project to sell. I just happen to be the realtor, right? So you get to keep 20K, right, for having that license. So that's what I usually do. And that's why, Abby, I mentioned it to you. If you go over full projects.
So how much effort do you think is required to get that license? How much time and effort do you think? Okay,
so quickest way to do it, if you're actually like doing the exam back to back, as soon as you can book it, you book it for the earliest time and for you to kind of get to the program. I think the reasonable time frame is 7 to 8 months.
That's definitely reasonable.
Yeah.
I've seen some people post about doing it in like 4 or 5, but they basically worked on it like full time, like they didn't have a job or anything like that. They just went straight through the course.
Yeah, they don't have any tests, they don't have any work.
Yeah.
Sustain themselves. So
I did it in a year with a full-time job.
Yeah, so give yourself maybe like 7 to 8 months to go through that. But also right now there's a lot of groups that can support that, which makes the studying part a little easier. But one thing I do want to mention is that realtor costs, like real estate license costs a lot of money upfront costs that nobody discussed. Okay, because number one, RICO is gonna try to charge I think $700 or $800 per course, right? 5 or 6.
5 mortgages.
Yeah,
40. They just raised it too.
That's crazy, man.
They raised it like 15%, I think.
Yeah, no, that's
$5,000, I would say, or 6.
Just to finish the program. Just to finish the program.
Yeah, it's more.
Yeah, and by the way, if I were to also talk about the hidden costs, I'm not that great at studying, so I usually get people to kind of tutor me or give me some market exams and all that stuff, right?
Technically,
it's ChatGPT right now is probably can save you some costs, but that's usually additional costs, right? After that, you need to join the brokerage, you need to join the RICO. Now needs another payment. and you need to pay for the insurance. So easily that's another 2 to 3K.
Yeah, minus about 3,400 or something like that
Oh,
after the course.
that's annual.
That was for signing up for a brokerage, signing up for the association, RICO insurance.
But that's
and-
annual every year.
yeah, that'll be every year too, because you do monthly payments for a bunch of stuff, mostly the brokerage.
So if you're only doing 2 deals, right, I actually wouldn't recommend it. Just work with an agent who really needs your business and can provide you with a bit of kickback, but also balance it out with their skill set, right? Not every realtor can actually handle a transaction, but that's a whole other topic. That's the thing. Once you can do this, I think 50-50 makes sense. What is healthy market, you want to readjust the percentage share. I got one flip where I actually do believe that passive investors takes up way too much money, right, from that project, okay? It took an upswing, great, everything's good, but for them to not do anything, I actually feel like the return was a little bit too rich, right? So how I would structure this might be 60-40, or I might say anything above, let's say 20%, the structure needs to kind of change it a little bit, okay? Because you already gave you 20% in one flip in 6 months, that's good, right? So anything above that, the rate of return needs to drop a little bit so that maybe they get capped at, not like cap, but after 20%, we do 70-30 split, right? Because obviously we've done a great job handling the project. So now at the next tier, I want to get compensated more.
So if the rate of return is more than 20, you do a 70-30 or something more lucrative for you. If it's less than 20, you do 50-50 or 60-40.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how I would structure. And I think the answer is pretty easy. The explanation is very easy because number one, if we can get there and make more money, right? Everybody should be happy. I just want my work to be a little bit more incentivized so that you tie my performance in. Just by that explanation, people will be acceptable, right? And second thing is I always want to get people to understand that, hey, listen, like it's not all about just getting the proportional return, right? If we can actually finish this project quickly, turn that into the next project, right? Everybody makes more money, right? And also on top of that, the likelihood of hitting more than over 20-30%, right? Sometimes it can be low, right? So we really don't need to spend too much focus on discussing that matter, right? So, but that's what I would do. Okay. There's also another way to do it is that, and I talk about this a lot. People talk about 50-50 a lot, or a lot of coaching programs because they keep emphasizing on how you can do no money down, but it's being already emphasized that everybody starts thinking 50-50 is normal. It's actually not normal in a real estate fund world, right? Bigger deals and everything. The proper way to structure this, and then I'll kind of put it on the left-hand side. That's it. Okay. The proper way or more traditional way to do it is that active usually get 20-25%. Okay. And active also needs to put money in. Let's say if the passive say, hey, listen, like, we're going to work together, but I need you to also put in the money in, right? Match my money, right? So that our risk can be diversified. But in return, you get, actually, I'll do 25% to make it, I'll do 20% actually to make the number easier, right? But we're going to split the cost of the down payment plus renovation, all the value adds, right? So that we can use that money to actually pay for the proper professional. Now, this becomes 40%, half of the cap to split the rest of the 80%, okay? And passive does the exact same thing. The real case situation is that the active investor actually gets 60%, right? Rather than 50%, right? But you do need to put money out. Hybrid of that structure is that I will argue, I'm also doing this type of work, right? So me being 20%, I will want to turn some of this into an actual pay. If I do project manager, I need to budget some fee for myself to pay me. Because guess what? As I'm going through the project, if I don't have any compensation, I'm going to go out of business, right? Or you force me into a position where I need to go work or do something else to draw that income for my family. I shouldn't say recently, but more and more asset managers started doing this. When they start acquiring the profit, right? So, the project, before they even talk about the profits, they started adding up service fee. And that service fee means acquisition fee, for example. Okay, we all know the biggest asset management company in the States, the Blackstone or BlackRock or whatever. There's a couple of them naming like very similar. They charge 4%, right? Grant Cardone, they charge 2% or 3%, something like that upfront. So if they can actually find a deal that's profitable, upon closing, they charge 4% of the total acquisition fee. So if it's, let's say, $20 million, okay, they're already charging 4% of $20 million to acquire this property before they even do any split for the profit. This becomes a part of the expense of the whole operation. Okay, so similarly, if we apply this into our deal structuring, where you're going to see is that, okay, now we agree 30%, 40%, 40%, right? But before we do any split, Active also gets paid service fee, which can be $5K for finder's fee plus $5K for project manager fee. So that's $10K. Okay. Now, so go ahead.
Sorry. So this is part of the profit, or this is part of the
no. So this is part of the expense. Okay, but let me actually show you in this case, because I spent a lot more time explaining this part, so I don't want to get confused. So in this case, we talk about service fee here. We just talk about service fee, 5K for finder's fee, and then 5K for project management using the raw number, which means the profit is no longer 80K. Now it's 70K new profit. Active now gets 35K. Okay, the 10K here, 35K. Okay, so in total, if we are comparing this one and this one, in total now this is 45K. Okay, so I like this way a lot better because number one, you get paid upon closing the property, and then while you're doing this, if for whatever reason the margin isn't as good as you expected, at least you still get paid, right? And this is where we can stack the project, right? You can raise capital, you can acquire a project, flip it, but before closing or in the midway of the project, another good deal comes in. For example, Daniel says, guys, I just found out, like I just secured another good deal. Do you guys want to flip it? You say, yes, send it to my way. You pick up another project, right? You raise capital, put them together. This itself is already giving you 10K per project. So if you do 4 projects a year, that's easily 40K without even even splitting the profit with any of your investors. That's guaranteed income coming into your pocket that provides a bit of security for your whole, I guess, flipping operation. Okay, so I like this way a lot better. And that's why every time I share about people talking about 50-50, I always want to pay attention to exactly what they mean by that. And if they want to do BRRRR for 50-50, I'm also happy to do that because I know that my capital is going to be returned first. This is usually how I judge a person, whether or not this person's an experienced investor. If you do 50-50 BRRRR project for 3 years, I know right away that your cash reserve is low, right? And you're probably not that great yet. Okay, so
repeat that sentence. I didn't get that clue yet. Sorry. So when you said how do you judge a person by?
Oh, I usually just listen to their how they structure a deal because they talk about how great they are. They have multiple doors or whatever. So I usually just be like, so tell me a little bit about how you structure the deal. It's like, oh, I do 50-50, right? I need to get compensated for 50%, this and that. I'm like, okay. So if I do want to invest with you, when is my capital going to be prioritized, right? Is the first refi you're going to try to fund me return all my capital? If they say yes, I know they're entry level.
Okay.
Right away, I know they're entry level simply because you can't sustain your lifestyle doing this, right? And my concern with this specific investor is that now you're going to have 2 different jobs because you're operating the real estate business, doing all the responsibility that we say you're going to do while having a full-time job, which means when shit hits the fence, I'm going to be worried that you're probably going to take off and try to prioritize your full-time job over the project. Okay, so that kind of partnership will make me feel like it's no longer passive, right? Even though I'm a passive investor, but when something goes wrong, I become an active investor.
Yes.
By the way, does this help to kind of understand how the deal is structured? Or
I just want one more question. What do you mean GPLP? What is a GP and what is a LP?
Okay, so GP is a general partnership and LP is a limited partnership. Usually we talk about GP LP in the syndication or real estate fund. In this case, it's more like active and passive because we're only talking about a joint venture deal. Okay, and GP LP usually is in a bigger project or a project that requires long-term, buy
and hold.
Yeah, buy and hold for 5 years, right? Multi-res and you do NOI where you need to calculate the IRR and all that stuff. Yeah, by the way, the reason why people do GPLP is because they wanted to make sure that they cap the passive investors' capital or return, right? If I go back to here, is that anything over a certain amount, we're changing a different type of split. So it looks more like a waterfall. Once we hit this tiers, there's a different structure. Once we hit this tier, we hit this structure. And the goal is to protect the active investors. If they really perform well, they want to get paid more. Okay. Did you guys find that helpful?
Yes. Well done. Very good. Share these with us. We'll just keep that in.
We will be uploading the recording to YouTube, so you guys can obviously go back and look at it. By the way, initially I wanted to talk about owner responsibility, but I know that that's probably going to be very tedious. If you guys want, I can do one next week to specifically talk about the responsibility and how to actually frame a joint venture agreement. Because usually what I do is that I put in all the standard term in there, and I want all of this to be extremely, I guess, easy to understand before we hand it over to the lawyer. So maybe we can talk about that next week.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, Daniel, we're doing the exact same thing for the wholesaling business, right? It's all about figuring out all of this. I think this is extremely applicable to your case because you're doing, I guess the business is like, it's the time that you're going to put in plus the expertise, right? And then you're raising capital. And then when you structure a deal, the deal in here is your business model, right? The people that you need, right? Finding the deals, and then the money partner comes in. And then we talk about the split here, right? But with your business, it's way more labor intensive because in here, you're just doing coordination. You're not really doing the work yourself. In wholesaling, you're doing the work, which means you need to get paid. And we talk about that the split needs to be much, much higher for the active investor.
Yeah, when you mentioned about like the split for it to be like 25%, it makes a lot more sense in the grand scheme of things to see a return. But the biggest thing for me was like over the calls that I've been having with the investors, like I had 2 today and I kind of let them know what that was. They kind of just we're ready to move forward. So I actually am going to have to do like a letter of intent for like 3 people, and then actually like do another call and like finalize each of them, and then hopefully get them under a contract and then open a bank account, like you said.
I signed up for your investors list, Daniel. Just
Awesome.
Nice.
If you need anything with your social media, Abby, feel free to reach out to me.
sure. Thank you.
And by the way, Eric, feel the same way with you, man. Like, because I know like your posting is crazy. It takes up so much mental energy too. That's been load into a little bit help us out. But if you need a bit of help with that, like honestly, talk to Daniel. The frequency doesn't need to be super high, but if it keep you like in the, I guess, on social media, like literally once every week, and then you some B-roll, talk about something and then send it over to Daniel's team. I think that's a pretty good way to do that. And also like if there's anything that Daniel can do, like with the off-market deals and all that, or secure some really good deal, I think there's an opportunity for all of us to collab. Okay. Anything else? I do like talking for 1 hour straight. So
I'll be waiting for you tomorrow.
awesome. Okay. If there's no questions, then have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Take care, guys.
All right, see ya.